Hello, my name is Larry Ray, and I'm the Executive Director of Campus Life at University of North Carolina, Wilmington. It's great to be with you today. I wanted to start this presentation by talking a little bit about our three goals for the session. The first is to talk to you a little bit about the new expectations that you're going to be facing here as you move into the UNCW experience. Maybe shake you up a little bit, get you out of your comfort zone as you prepare for this new experience and how it's going to be different than your high school experience. I want to talk a little bit about who you are as a group to really help start defining reality. We know a lot about you because we spent the last several years since probably your middle school days studying you to understand what it is you're looking for in this experience and how we can help deliver an experience that makes you the most successful. So we'll talk about some of the things we know about you and your entering class as you come into this experience. And the last thing I want to do in a really positive way is challenge you, really to challenge you to make the most of this experience and get everything you can out of the UNCW experience as you move through it. So with that, let's get started. So I want to talk a little bit about who you are as a class coming in. This graph represents the majors that you have told us you intend to major in as you move into the UNCW experience. I want to point out a couple of things. First is this 27% of you who are declaring that you are undecided in your major. That is perfectly normal. We absolutely expect that. We're actually telling your parents that in another session so they understand that this is a normal part of the experience. We know that on average, our students change their majors 2 to 3 times during their experience here. So not knowing exactly what you want to major in as you start your experience here at UNCW is certainly normal. I also want to talk a little bit about some of the other majors that you're declaring. See, about 18% of you are saying you want to be nurses, 14% biology, 12% marine biology, 8% in psychology. This is about the normal breakdown of our majors that are reported as students come into the UNCW during their first year. This chart shows the top 10 majors that we actually graduated in this past graduation class. And these students over the last decade or so have reported very remarkably similar numbers to what you're reporting about your intended majors. So let's look at some of these changes. So you'll see on this chart that about 7% received a degree in biology, about 4% in nursing. You'll notice that marine biology is not even on the graph, it's about 3%. If we reference this chart again, this is again what you are telling us you want to major in, see those numbers, and then you can see what the graduating class just graduated with. And you might notice some pretty big dramatic changes there. So everyone graduates with a degree, don't forget that. So you're going to be okay. But you, like I said, 18% of you started saying you want to be nursing majors. About 4% of this last graduating class graduated with a nursing degree. What does that tell us? It tells us that along the way things change. And we know that that will happen. Maybe you are telling us today you want to be a nursing major, you go through clinicals and you see blood for the first time and you faint. That's probably not the career for you, right? Lots of people want to play with dolphins at SeaWorld and want to be a marine biology major. And then they meet a course called organic chemistry. And oftentimes they decide at that point in time to change their major. What we know is that things are going to change, your interests are going to change. Sometimes you might fail, or sometimes you might just make a decision on your own to move to a different major. You might realize that you have talents that lie in other areas. Sometimes you find that you had a passion you didn't even know existed. Sometimes you find a major that you didn't even know existed previously. What we want you to do during your time here is really start challenging yourself and exploring your different opportunities. We know that you're going to find your thing. Be patient and choose what's best for you. College is about your skill development, really, and it's much about your personal development as it is your skill development during the time here. You're going to figure out your vocation and a job that comes with it as you explore here at UNCW. So these are the reasons that you tell us that you come or chose UNCW. We do a lot of informal surveys and find out this information. And these are the top three reasons that students tell us that they choose to be here. One is the location. Obviously, we're 7 miles away from the Atlantic Ocean. That makes it an easy choice for a lot of folks. It was one of the reasons I came here to work. But when I say location here, what I'm really talking about is more of a geographical location when it comes to where you live. Lots of our students come from our major metropolitan areas in North Carolina. The Raleigh-Durham area, the Triad area, Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem, and then the Charlotte area. And what those students have figured out is that this is about a 3 to 3.5 hour drive from all those areas. And what that really means is that you can pack up and run home and get a good home cooked meal and do laundry anytime you really need to. But more importantly, mom and dad have to call before they show up for a visit. So you're what I call my geography majors. You found that perfect distance from home that allows you some independence, but also allows you that ability to get back home when you need to get some comforts of home. The second reason that students tell us is obviously the academic reputation. We pride ourselves on that. We're really excited that you and your families have made that choice to be a part of this learning community here at UNCW. And we want you to continue that tradition and make us even stronger in that regards. And the last one is the campus visit. A lot of our students report that as they were on their visit here on campus, walking around with their loved one, their parents, their guardians that were with them on the tour, that there was just a moment where they felt like this is the place for me. When they looked at the person with them and said, hey, this is just where I fit, where I belong. And that really is a special part of our campus culture. It is a very strong community here, and we want to welcome you to that. We want to challenge you to build even further on that and make other people feel the same way about this community. And you'll see that in things like our move-in day when we have more volunteers here than families to help move our first-year students in. We're going to ask that you come back your sophomore, junior, and senior years and help other people feel special like that as well, and volunteer and participate in those opportunities to welcome other students to this community. So just know that this is a special place, and we expect that you will help us continue to make it special. So let's talk a little bit about our student body characteristics. These are the talking points that you'll see in major publications that really examine the best colleges. 4-year graduation rates and 6-year graduation rates. These are top 3 in our state. They're incredibly competitively nationally. Our freshman to sophomore retention rate, which is the amount of students who start freshman year and then return for their sophomore year, 83% is the envy of most universities in our state system. We're a second or third in the state yearly in this measurement. So these are all really important factors that show that we are a quality educational institution. But these numbers also tell a little bit of a different story too when you look at them from a different context. So let's talk a little bit about that. So this is my back of the napkin math on 7 orientation sessions in the summer, a graduating class of approximately about, let's just call it 2,300 for now. It's really more like around 2,400, but if it's around 2,300, you do this math and you can find out that over time, if we apply last year's retention rate, that 83% to the total freshman class of 2,300, what you would know is that in each session of orientation, the 7th session, you'd have about 56 students who are watching this presentation now who will not return for their sophomore year. And I think it's really important that this is not a scared straight moment, but it's really important for me to talk to you early on about what you're going to need to do to remain a part of this community. We do have a lot of students who are asked not to come back. Some of those students who don't return have reasons that were beyond their control. We're living in a time of COVID. Maybe you had a loved one who was sick and you had to go home and take care of them. It's a perfectly great reason to take a break and go home, right? Maybe in economic times that are a little stressful, you had a parent who may be changing jobs or lost a job, and you need to make a financial decision to take a break before you return. And it's completely out of your control. But a lot of those students in that 56 number would be students who didn't perform academically, who we asked not to come back. What I'm challenging you today is to make sure that you're not one of those folks who we asked not to return. And another number on here that should kind of connect you to that this is a different experience as this average cumulative GPA, that 3.08. If I were to ask you all who are watching this what your high school GPA is, we'd find that almost all of our entering first year class would start at a 3.9 to 4.0 or higher with weighted GPAs. So this should be an indicator that average GPA at 3.08 is going to mean that there's an uptick in the requirements here academically on our campus. So we want to start preparing you for that as you start this experience. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we've learned about you prior to you getting here. This is some data that we gained from some entering first year student surveys, and it really kind of breaks down themes in your lives, right? I don't think that every one of these would affect you or connect to you, but many of them will. I would just about bet everyone that's coming into your first year class would say that they connect to this idea of living in an integrated cutting edge technology right now. That's had a big effect on your lives, right? You're a technological generation. So these are things that we know about what your expectations and your experiences are as you move through, as you come here. I want to highlight this one. Everything is negotiable. And that simply means that many of you have figured out a way during your high school experience to do as little as you possibly can to get exactly where you want to be. And that is this idea that you can negotiate your way to get what you want in the experience. And what I need you to understand is that may have worked in your past experiences in high school, but that will not work here at UNCW. The first bit of reality we want you to start coming to grips with is that here, your effort will equal your outcome. There's no way around, no dodge, no use of persuasion or artful negotiation that will bring a different result. Here, it's important from day one that you understand that how hard you're willing to work is going to indicate how successful you are here at UNCW. So let's talk a little bit about what some of the facts are about this experience as you prepare to start your journey here. The first one is this is not high school. And the quicker you internalize that realization and start preparing differently, the more successful we know you're going to be here. So it's a real simple starting point that this is going to be a different experience. What we know is for the majority of you, this statement rings true. The idea of college is really all you've ever known. And you've gotten so used to that idea that it feels almost automatic. It's what you've been told by your parents that you're going to do. It's what you've been told by your high school instructors that one day you were going to go to college. And what we want you to understand is that feeling of automatic no longer exists here. If you don't work here, you don't get to stay here. You don't get a degree here. There's no avoiding that as you move through this experience. And this is a fact. College is a huge transition for you, no matter how you went, no matter where you come from, whether you're from a big city or a small town, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, whether you're a jock or on the chess club, undecided or declared in your major, no matter how high your GPA, your socioeconomic standing, the color of your skin, or the amount of AP courses you took before you got here. This is a huge transition for everyone who goes through this experience. And you really all started kind of assessing this when you first got here to campus during move-in and first move to your residence hall, or when you go to your first classes. You're looking around to see, hey, how do I fit in here? Am I going to make friends here? Am I going to be able to be successful here? How do I compare to everyone else? And it's natural to try to find your place. To be at least a little bit scared or anxious or worried about this change is also very natural. Most everyone is feeling those types of emotions. And if I asked you all to raise your hands and let me know if you do feel anxious or nervous or worried about the experience, what I would tell you is that anyone who didn't raise their hands would either be lying or they're already asleep during this presentation, because everyone naturally feels some of that type of pressure in this experience. And what we have to make sure is that we're not posing for each other or fronting or making it really kind of imagining where you're at in this experience. This is a change that kind of brings some of those emotions for everyone who goes through it. And most of our students tell us that the biggest transition they experienced in coming to UNCW was the elevation in expectations in the classroom. And what we ask you to do is really start strong here. We don't want you to be this person. We want you to wake up so you don't wake up to a nightmare at the end of your first year. Here, we're going to expect a different kind of level of preparation and a different level of participation in order to be successful. What I'd ask is that you treat this opportunity as an investment in yourself and your future. If you put the work in, you're going to perform. If you don't put that work in, we know you won't be able to perform here. Your results here are going to be are not going to be based on the talent or potential that you have. That's what got you here as a part of our learning community. But your results here are going to be based on your ability to put your talents to work and the extent with which you're willing to drive yourself to reach that full potential. And truly, this is probably the first time you'll be in an experience where everyone else around you is just as intelligent as you are. And it's really hard to start as special when everyone else in the same place is special as well. And the truth is, none of you really are special here yet. And I'm sure you're happy I put that yet in. But what we know is that what you did in high school doesn't even really show up on your resume as you get to graduation here at UNCW. By the time you leave here, very little of your experiences previous to this are really going to show up on that resume. Your popularity and your social capital in high school, that really don't matter here. For many of you, this is a breath of fresh air, a place to really reinvent yourself and be the truest you possible. You've been looking for this opportunity. Where you're coming from, you probably were in the top 10 in your class, if not a valedictorian or salutatorian. Here you really start as one in 18,000 incredibly gifted students who are on this campus. So we want you to understand, as you know, you may have that effect of coming from being a big fish in a small pond where you're at, and understand that this is going to be a different experience, that you're going to really be kind of in an ocean full of really successful, highly motivated students here. We don't want you to look around in your sophomore year and realize that everyone else has kind of moved on without you. We want you to really start that process of getting connected, involved, and motivated to do well in your classes from day one. There's also a great deal that you can learn from the talented peers that you're going to be experiencing this your time at UNCW with here on our campus. We want you to be open to learning from each other and being a part of a community of learning here at UNCW. I'm going to challenge you to take some risks, ask questions, and challenge yourself to understand different ways of thinking, and start conversations with people who have different experiences than you. Trust me, there are people here who are really different than you. And that's a really great thing. We want you to really kind of explore and see what makes other folks tick, and then really kind of integrate that into the way you think and the way you experience the world. We are a global institution. We pride ourselves on our international programs and really in getting students out, both traveling and study abroad, and then bringing students here to interact with our students. So that's a really important part of this process and this campus culture. And we want you to really kind of be open to that and engage in that as you experience your time here at UNCW. So let's talk about how to make the most of this experience and how to be successful here. And I've got just a few really simple tips, but they're really important. So first is, I just want to take a second to talk about all that's changing around you. Though a great deal has changed over the generations, the basic transition issues that college students experience have not really changed for the last 40 to 50 years. You're working on trying to create identity. You're working to develop competence and on ways to manage your relationships in a new place with a great deal of new freedom. And that doesn't count all the academic transitions that I've already highlighted that are a part of this. So we know there's going to be a great deal of change that you're going to go through as you move through this experience. What we know is that during these times, you're going to struggle some while you're here. But we want you to know that you will succeed. There are many people here who care a great deal about you and who will help you along your way. You will be meeting peers like your resident assistants, the orientation leaders. You'll see people like me on campus who've dedicated their lives to helping college students be successful. So when you go through some of these changes and you struggle, what we want you to know is that this happens to everyone. And we want you to be honest about it. and seek help, because we're here to help you through the experience. So just know part of this experience is you being willing to connect with us and tell us when things aren't going well so we can help you get back on track. You're going to be successful here, but you're also going to meet some obstacles along the way that you have to negotiate, and we'll be here to help you through that. This experience will require you to ask for more from yourself in order to succeed, probably more than you've ever been asked before. And what I would ask is that you start really thinking about how to reach deeper and to maximize that potential that you have. We want you to start fast with good habits so you don't fall behind here. Here's the first really simple rule. You got to go to class. Now, I know that some of you probably have a brother, sister's, cousin's, girlfriend who went here 5 years ago and is telling you now that 200 level biology course with 500 people in it, you don't have to go to that every week, that you can get a C and the professor will never know you weren't there. And what I would ask is that you not settle for that. You are here to get the most out of this experience. So you're here to get that A, right? So you need to go to class and participate in order to be able to do that. Now, what I would also tell you is there's a natural psychology that's a part of this. Professors are really no different than us. They see people and they kind of let them show what their potential is, and that affects their how they view them. So if you're a student who comes to class every day, sits up front and participates in conversations, your professor is going to see you as an A student. And as they get your first paper that you turn in, they're going to start with that visualization of you as an A student in their mind, and you're going to have to work down from that. But if you're a student who comes in late to class or doesn't come certain days, sits in the back, falls asleep, they see you as someone who's putting forth a D student effort. So when you turn your paper in, they start you at a D and make you work up, right? That's a basic psychology. What we're asking you to do is understand there's ways for you to really set yourself up for success. And the most important one is that you find your way to class and participate. That is the number one indicator of how well students do in class, is being there and participating in the discussion. Now, the second simple rule I want to give you is this one. You have to start learning how to manage your time. And I really want you to start thinking about this as an opportunity to really see this as a job. It's your job to do well here, right? And what we would ask you to do is start thinking about how you're going to schedule your time to do that. I'll tell a quick story. I had a fraternity brother when I was in undergrad. His name was Matt. And Matt and I were a lot alike. We were both from small towns. We both were English majors. We both were in the same fraternity. We held leadership roles all throughout campus. And Matt and I both, we always found ourselves at every social opportunity possible. There was one big difference in Matt and I. Matt graduated our undergrad with a 4.0 GPA. I graduated with something significantly less than a 4.0 GPA. And one day I asked Matt, it was like the summer between our sophomore and junior years. I said, Matt, what are you doing differently that I'm not doing? Because you're not that much more intelligent than I am. And he said, it's really simple. I treat this like a job. In the morning, I clock in. I go to breakfast. I meet you guys at breakfast. We all have breakfast. Y'all go back and take a nap or play video games. I go to the library. And then I see you at 10 a.m. for our Shakespeare class. I'm there and ready to go. You roll in about 5 minutes late. Lecture gets started. We get finished. You go back and play some more video games or hang out with the brothers. I go back to the library. And then I see you guys around 12:30 for lunch. We all have lunch. Before our 2 o'clock class, I go back to the library and prepare for it. You go take a nap. Then I see you at the 2 o'clock class. You go back and maybe shoot basketball or do something else. And I go back to the library and I see you guys at dinner. I have clocked in for that day. I've done my work. After dinner, I am free to go. I go do whatever I want. You probably go do whatever you want for a little while and then realize, hey, I got to cram for that exam tomorrow that I've already prepared for. So this is how Matt had figured out to crack the code on time management. And this is what made Matt be a 4.0 student and me, again, to be something significantly less. Now, once I started doing what Matt did, I raised my cumulative GPA by more than a full point my last semester and a half. That's kind of hard to do, to be totally honest with you. So it gives you an idea of how just making those simple adjustments to the way I schedule my day help me be a better student. So what I would ask you to do is be like Matt and really start thinking about how you're going to schedule that time and get the most out of this. Treat this as if it were your job and an investment in yourself so you can get the most out of the experience. And please, if you find yourself taking lots of naps, you're avoiding something. Try to figure out what that is and move forward. It's okay to take a few naps. There's no doubt about that. I miss them dearly. But if you find yourself always taking naps, then you are truly avoiding something, and you need to find some help to figure out what it is and how we can get you back on track and get started back on the road to being academically successful here. Don't waste your time. So I want you to really think about this as an opportunity to be the author of your own story here at UNCW. This is your opportunity to be the person that you've always wanted to be the person that you really feel like that there are no hindrances on being while you're here. So make sure that you are willing to be that author of your own story here. What we also want you to know is that we don't want you to lose the person who you are now that got you here, right? We want you to use that as a foundation and really start learning new things. But remember the values that you built that got you here. Don't forget those as you move through the experience. Build your future person on the person that you are today and all that you've learned to this point. We obviously thought a great deal of you to get you here. What we wanted this to be is a springboard for all the great things you're going to do in your future past UNCW. And let me end by issuing you, a final challenge, so to speak. I want you to challenge yourself to be the best you can be here at UNCW and work for it from day one. I want you to connect to each other and our campus and leave it a better place than you found it. Find a way to leave your legacy here, to leave your mark. In short, I want you to promise me that you're going to get everything you can out of this experience, because 4 years will fly by here. It won't be long till you'll be walking across that stage at graduation. And I don't want you to walk across it thinking, I wish I had done this, or I wish I had done that. I want you to have a great deal of fun and enjoy this experience. This is your time to find out what you're capable of, to make your mark and to be special here. Question is, are you going to rise to that challenge? I can't wait to see what you do and how you leave a mark on our university. Thank you. Have a great day, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck here.